AITA for refusing to let my brother stay with me after he moved back to town. So I, 28F, recently had a really stressful situation with my family, and I'm unsure if I handled it correctly, so I'm turning to this community for an outside perspective. My younger brother, Jake, 25M, moved back to my city about a month ago after spending several years in another state. He had been living on his own, but lost his job and couldn't afford rent, so he decided to come back home. Well, to me, since my parents are traveling abroad for 6 months and I was the closest family member, from the beginning, I was hesitant. I have a small 2-bedroom apartment, and I live with my partner, Mark, 30M. Our lease is strict about extra residents, and space is already tight. I also work full-time and have been saving for a big trip next year, so I wasn't thrilled about the idea of having someone move in unexpectedly. But Jake was emotional, explaining that he didn't have anywhere else to go and didn't want to be homeless. He promised he would stay only a few weeks until he could get back on his feet. I tried to compromise by offering temporary solutions. I suggested he look into a sublet or extended stay somewhere while he got a job lined up. I even helped him make a list of local apartments that were within his budget. He insisted that this would take too long, and he kept coming back to my apartment as the easiest option. Finally, I said yes, but only under very specific conditions. He could stay for 2 weeks, he needed to pay a portion of groceries, and he had to follow our household rules. No loud music after 10 p.m., cleaning up after himself, no guests without notice. I thought that was fair. He moved in, and within a few days, it became clear that he wasn't willing to adhere to any of the rules. He left dirty dishes in the sink for days, didn't contribute to groceries even though I reminded him repeatedly, and would invite friends over without asking. He would also stay up until 3 or 4 a.m., playing video games at full volume, which made it nearly impossible for me to sleep before work. I tried talking to him several times, calmly pointing out that these were the conditions we agreed upon, but he brushed it off and said I was being overly controlling and that he was just trying to relax in his own home. Things escalated when Mark got involved. Mark works from home, and he couldn't concentrate with the noise and constant mess. He started getting frustrated and suggested that Jake needed to either start following the rules or find somewhere else to live. Jake blew up, accusing Mark of being mean and unsympathetic, saying that I was picking sides and that I didn't care about family. I reminded him that I was giving him a temporary roof out of kindness, but that kindness didn't mean I could ignore our household's normal functioning. The breaking point came last week. Jake had invited a few friends over for what he called a small get-together. It quickly turned into a party with music blasting, people spilling drinks, and yelling in the hallway. Mark confronted him again, and Jake became verbally aggressive, calling us both selfish and saying we were ruining his life. I told him calmly that this was unacceptable, and he needed to leave immediately. He refused, so I called our landlord, explained the situation, and asked what our options were since he wasn't on the lease. The landlord confirmed that, as he wasn't a tenant, I could legally ask him to leave. I gave him an ultimatum: leave within 24 hours or I would call the authorities. Jake left, but the aftermath has been rough. My parents called me and sided with Jake, saying I should have been more accommodating and that family sticks together no matter what. My cousins are split. Some agree with me that I was entirely reasonable. Others say I overreacted and that I should have tried harder to help him. I feel torn because, on one hand, I was just trying to maintain my home and sanity. On the other hand, I feel guilty because he's family, and I did kick him out, albeit after giving him multiple chances to follow rules he agreed to. I also worry about how this will affect our relationship moving forward. AITA for refusing to let my brother stay with me under the circumstances and ultimately asking him to leave. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she insulted me in front of our entire family. I, 28F, have always had a complicated relationship with my older sister, Jenna, 32F. Growing up, We were close at times, but as we got older, our personalities clashed more than they meshed. She has always been very controlling and judgmental, while I am more easygoing and independent. Over the years, I've learned to set boundaries with her, but that has never gone over well. Recently, Jenna got engaged to a guy named Marcus, and she immediately started planning a huge wedding. She wanted it to be a destination wedding at a resort several hours away from our hometown. From the start, I felt overwhelmed by her expectations. She insisted that everyone contribute to planning, that all family members attend pre-wedding events, and that we help with things like seating arrangements, floral choices, and even writing speeches. I've always been willing to help when it feels appropriate, but her tone was more demanding than collaborative. About a month ago, she invited me over to her apartment to discuss the wedding. I thought it would be a casual brainstorming session, but as soon as I walked in, she pulled out a binder filled with spreadsheets and color-coded timelines. She started listing tasks I was responsible for, including contacting vendors, organizing transportation for out-of-town guests, and planning the rehearsal dinner. I tried to calmly explain that I have a full-time job and I can't take on everything she's asking, but she waved me off and said, "Oh, come on, you always make everything about yourself. This is for me, not you." I felt annoyed, but tried to stay calm and said I would help where I could. Over the next couple of weeks, things got worse. Jenna called me multiple times a day, sometimes leaving long texts demanding updates on things she assumed I had already done. I was doing my best, but one evening I had to tell her I couldn't handle another task she assigned because it conflicted with my work schedule. That's when things escalated. She got extremely angry and accused me of sabotaging her wedding and not caring about family. I reminded her that I was happy to help, but I had limits like anyone else. She responded by raising her voice and saying in front of our parents and younger brother, "Honestly, I don't even know why we bother with her. She's lazy, self-centered, and always makes everything about herself. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't even show up to my wedding." I was shocked and humiliated. I tried to explain my perspective, but she interrupted me repeatedly, and our parents seemed more concerned about calming her down than acknowledging how hurtful her words were. I left that gathering feeling hurt and angry, and after a few days of thinking, I decided I could no longer participate in the planning. I sent her a message explaining that I loved her and wanted her wedding to be special, but I couldn't continue helping if I wasn't treated with respect. I also said I might attend the wedding, but I wouldn't be taking on any responsibilities. Her reaction was extreme. She called me selfish, ungrateful, and even suggested I was trying to ruin her marriage before it started. She told other family members that I was being difficult and that she didn't want me involved at all. Some family members sided with her, saying I should just get over it for the sake of family harmony, while others privately agreed that her behavior was unreasonable. Now the wedding is a week away, and she has made it clear that she doesn't want me involved in anything at all. She has even gone so far as to tell a few distant relatives that I refuse to attend. I have been invited, but I'm unsure whether going would be welcomed or if it would create more drama. I feel hurt, frustrated, and anxious about the whole situation. I keep thinking about whether I overreacted by refusing to help. I genuinely wanted to be involved initially, but the way she insulted me and treated me made it impossible to continue. Part of me worries that I should have just swallowed my pride for the sake of family peace. But another part of me feels that it's not fair to be treated so disrespectfully and still expected to contribute. I don't want to miss my sister's wedding, and I still care about her deeply, but I also don't want to compromise my boundaries or put myself in a situation where I will be humiliated again. I've considered sending a message saying I'll come, but only as a guest, without helping, but I'm worried that might fuel more resentment. So, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she insulted me in front of everyone? Or am I justified in setting boundaries, even if it means stepping back from such an important family event? I just want some clarity because I feel torn between my love for my sister and the need to protect myself from further emotional harm. AITA for potentially ruining my sister's wedding over a misunderstanding that spiraled out of control. I, 28F, have a younger sister, Emily, 25F, who has always been the golden child in our family. She's the kind of person everyone admires, smart, outgoing, and endlessly charming. I've always been the quieter, more introverted sibling, so our parents tend to favor Emily for most things, though I've never resented her openly. That said, there's always been an undercurrent of tension between us that neither of us really addresses. Emily got engaged last year to a man named Jason, 27M. I'll admit, when they first got together, I wasn't thrilled about him. I didn't feel he treated Emily with the level of respect she deserves. Over time, I saw moments that concerned me. Small things like dismissive comments or subtle control over her decisions. But Emily always brushed it off, insisting he was just joking or that I was overreacting. I tried to support her as best I could, because at the end of the day, I wanted her to be happy. Fast forward to 6 months ago, Emily announced her wedding would be a formal indoor event at a local historic venue. She created a group chat with family members and close friends to coordinate the details. She also included a small note about seating arrangements. The reception had limited space, and tables would be assigned by the wedding planner. I didn't think much of it. About 3 months ago, Emily's bridal shower took place. It was a beautiful event, but I noticed Jason's family had claimed nearly half the guest list. I mentioned it casually to Emily, suggesting that it seemed a little unbalanced. She laughed it off, saying, "They're just excited, don't worry about it." I dropped it, thinking it wasn't my place to intervene. Here's where things started to go wrong. 2 months ago, Emily asked me to help her with the guest list. She had given me a spreadsheet to double-check for duplicates and spelling errors. As I went through it, I noticed a few entries for people I didn't recognize, including one named K. Sutherland, with no last name, just an email. I assumed it was one of Jason's distant relatives. Thinking I was being helpful, I sent Emily a private message. "Hey, there are some names I don't recognize. Are you sure everyone on the list should be invited?" Emily responded tersely, "Yes, everyone is invited. Stop overthinking things." I thought she was joking, so I pressed gently, asking for clarification about K. Sutherland. She snapped back, "It doesn't matter. Trust me." I felt dismissed, but didn't push further. About 3 weeks ago, my friend Lucy came to town. Lucy is a wedding planner, and I confided in her about my concerns regarding the guest list imbalance. I showed her the spreadsheet and explained the situation. Lucy suggested a subtle approach. Maybe I could discreetly confirm who on the list was actually attending, so we could avoid overcrowding certain tables. I thought this was reasonable and emailed a few guests listed as maybe attending to confirm RSVPs. One of the people I contacted was K. Sutherland. They replied almost immediately, confirming their attendance. I felt relieved that the spreadsheet was accurate and forwarded the information to Emily, assuming she'd appreciate the help. This is where it all blew up. Emily texted me hours later, furious. She accused me of overstepping boundaries, contacting people without her permission, and undermining her control over the wedding. She said I had caused confusion among guests and made Jason's family upset. I tried to explain that I was only trying to help and that Lucy had advised me on how to manage the list without interfering. Emily didn't want to hear it. Things escalated when my parents got involved. They sided with Emily, saying it was her wedding and I had no right to interfere. My father said, "You need to let your sister handle her life without stepping in, even if you think you're helping." My mother added that Emily had always felt pressured by me questioning her decisions. I felt blindsided because I truly thought I was doing something helpful, not malicious. Last weekend was the rehearsal dinner. Emily refused to sit next to me and barely spoke to me during the event. Jason avoided eye contact as well. Several extended family members whispered about the drama between us, which made me feel isolated and humiliated. Emily sent me a text afterward. "I love you, but I need you to step back. No more meddling. I am genuinely torn. On one hand, I see how my actions could be interpreted as intrusive. I understand that it's her wedding and she should have control over the details. On the other hand, I was only trying to prevent logistical issues and make things easier for her. I've always been careful not to criticize her choices publicly, and this was meant to be supportive. Since the rehearsal dinner, I've been mostly quiet, avoiding conflict, but the tension is unbearable. My friends tell me I was justified in wanting to help, but my family insists I overstepped. Emily refuses to discuss the matter further, and I'm worried that this could permanently damage our relationship. So, Reddit AITA for contacting wedding guests and attempting to verify the RSVP list, even though my sister explicitly told me not to. I feel like I was trying to prevent potential chaos and help in a situation where I thought my insight could be useful. But I also realized that I may have inadvertently made her feel undermined. I don't want to be the villain in her wedding story, yet I also don't want to feel like my concern for her well-being is inherently wrong. I've considered apologizing again, but I fear it might not be enough, or it might seem insincere after the damage is done. I don't know if I should step back entirely and let her handle everything, or if there's a way to reconcile without losing my voice in the family. I feel trapped between doing what I think is right and respecting her autonomy. I've never wanted to cause her stress, and I genuinely thought I was acting in her best interest. The wedding is in 2 weeks, and I'm terrified that our relationship might be irreparably harmed if I don't navigate this correctly. So, Reddit AITA? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé. I, 28F, have always been close with my sister, Lily, 32F. Growing up, we were inseparable, sharing clothes, secrets, and even a bedroom for several years. Our bond was the kind that everyone envied. However, in the past 2 years, things have shifted drastically, and now I feel caught between loyalty to my family and my own mental well-being. 2 years ago, Lily started dating Tom, 35M. At first, I tried to be supportive. He seemed polite, charming, and successful. But over time, subtle things started to bother me. He had a way of making jokes that were cruel rather than funny, often at the expense of me, my sister, or even strangers online. He also had a habit of belittling Lily in ways that she didn't seem to notice, or maybe she didn't want to notice. For instance, he constantly commented on her appearance and career choices, framing them as just jokes or advice. I tried bringing it up to Lily once, but she brushed it off, saying, "He's joking, don't overthink it." Things escalated over the last year. Tom started making comments about my lifestyle, my job, and even my personal choices. He once told me that my living situation was embarrassing for someone my age, and another time commented that my boyfriend was not ambitious enough for me. I politely tried to set boundaries, but he ignored them, claiming I was too sensitive. Meanwhile, Lily seemed oblivious to how toxic he could be around me. I tried distancing myself from him while still keeping a cordial relationship for Lily's sake, but it became increasingly stressful. Fast forward to 6 months ago, Lily announced their engagement. She was ecstatic, as any sister would be for her sibling. I felt a mixture of happiness and dread. While I was glad she was excited, I also knew that attending the wedding would mean enduring days, if not weeks, in close proximity to Tom. I told Lily that I had reservations about attending, and she was hurt. She assumed it was because of minor scheduling conflicts or stress, but I tried to be honest without being confrontational. I explained that Tom's behavior made me uncomfortable and that being at the wedding could be emotionally draining for me. I also expressed that I didn't want to create tension during what should be her happiest moments. Lily's reaction was mixed. Initially, she seemed understanding, but after talking to our parents, she became more insistent. They argued that attending the wedding was a family obligation and accused me of being selfish. They said that my discomfort shouldn't come before Lily's happiness. I tried to reason with them, explaining that my issue wasn't with Lily or the wedding itself, but specifically with Tom's behavior. They dismissed my concerns, saying that I was exaggerating or misinterpreting him. Over the next few months, I tried a few compromises. I offered to attend the ceremony, but skipped the reception, hoping that would make things easier. I also suggested attending only parts of the pre-wedding events. Each time, my offers were rejected. Lily told me that if I didn't attend the full wedding, it would deeply hurt her feelings and possibly make her rethink our relationship. The pressure was intense because I truly love my sister and don't want to lose her over this. But the thought of spending an entire weekend with Tom, who had become increasingly condescending and manipulative toward me, made me anxious and physically unwell. A month ago, I made the difficult decision to decline the wedding invitation entirely. I wrote a heartfelt letter to Lily explaining my reasons, emphasizing my love for her, and apologizing for the disappointment. I also reiterated that my decision wasn't a reflection of our relationship, but a necessary boundary for my mental health. I didn't want to risk an emotional breakdown at her wedding or cause drama in front of our extended family. The fallout has been worse than I anticipated. Lily stopped talking to me for weeks, blocked me on social media, and has been distant whenever we're in the same room at family gatherings. My parents are furious and claim that I'm choosing my comfort over family unity. Extended family members have asked me why I'm being difficult, implying that I'm somehow being unreasonable. Meanwhile, Tom has never directly apologized for any of his behavior and seems smug about the situation, acting as though I'm overreacting. I understand that my absence will hurt Lily, and I've struggled with guilt every day since sending the letter. I've even wondered if I'm being too harsh or letting my personal grievances dictate something as important as a sibling's wedding. I know families often expect certain norms, like attending major life events, and I've broken one of those expectations. However, I also feel that my well-being is important, and attending the wedding under these circumstances could lead to significant emotional harm. I haven't completely cut ties with Lily. I still text her occasionally and try to maintain some level of connection, but it's strained. I've considered offering to meet for a private lunch before the wedding to show my support, but I don't know if that would be enough for her. Every time I think about it, I feel torn between doing what's right for myself and doing what's expected as a sister. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? I know it's a huge event and she wants all her family there, but I feel like attending would compromise my mental health and potentially create unnecessary conflict. I also feel stuck because no matter how carefully I explain my reasons, it seems like people only see it as me choosing not to support my sister. I truly don't want to hurt her, but I also don't want to sacrifice my own boundaries for the sake of tradition. Has anyone been in a similar situation where family expectations collided with personal boundaries? I'm desperate for perspective because I feel like I've exhausted all options without alienating the people I love. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior? I, 28F, have always been extremely close with my younger sister, Mia, 26F. Growing up, we were inseparable, and even as adults, we've maintained a strong bond. I've always been protective of her, and I consider myself someone who genuinely looks out for her well-being. Over the past few years, however, I've been increasingly worried about her fiancé, Jake, 30M. Mia and Jake started dating about 3 years ago. At first, he seemed like a normal kind guy. He was charming and funny, and I thought he made my sister happy. But as time went on, I began noticing red flags. He would make subtly insulting comments to Mia in front of others, often disguised as jokes, but the way she would tense up or blush made it obvious she didn't find them funny. He also had a habit of speaking over her when she tried to explain her thoughts and opinions. At first, I brushed it off, thinking maybe he just didn't know her as well as I did, but over time it became a pattern. About a year into their relationship, I tried to bring my concerns to my parents, hoping they might keep an eye out or intervene if necessary. They brushed it off, saying Jake was just teasing, and that Mia could handle herself. I felt conflicted, but decided not to push further at the time because I didn't want to cause tension in the family. Fast forward to last summer, Mia and Jake got engaged. My initial reaction was to be happy for her, but the deeper I got involved in the wedding planning, the more I became concerned. Jake began to display more controlling behavior. He insisted on being involved in every detail, often overruling Mia's wishes. For example, she wanted a smaller, intimate ceremony, but he pushed for a lavish event with over 300 guests, claiming she didn't know what she wanted. Whenever Mia tried to voice her opinions, he would respond with passive-aggressive remarks or sulking. I tried talking to Mia privately, encouraging her to assert herself and make the choices she wanted. She would nod and agree, but rarely followed through. Over time, I realized that Mia's happiness was taking a back seat to Jake's ego. The last straw came about 2 months ago. I went with Mia to a dress fitting and Jake decided to tag along unannounced. During the appointment, he openly criticized her body, saying she looked a little heavier than expected in the dress. Mia tried to laugh it off, but I saw her shrink back in discomfort. I confronted Jake politely but firmly, telling him that his comments were inappropriate. He laughed it off and said, "I was just being honest, don't be so sensitive." After that incident, I sat down with Mia and told her that I could no longer support this relationship if she allowed him to treat her this way. I explained that I loved her too much to stand by and watch someone diminish her confidence and happiness. She was upset, but didn't seem ready to take action. Things escalated last week when Mia asked me to be in the bridal party. I told her I couldn't participate because I didn't feel comfortable celebrating a relationship that I saw as unhealthy. She got extremely angry and accused me of being judgmental and trying to control her life. She insisted that I was overreacting and that Jake loved her and treated her well. The family is now split. My parents and extended family are pressuring me to attend, saying I'm ruining the wedding and putting my personal feelings above family harmony. Some relatives have accused me of being dramatic and alienating my sister. On the other hand, a few close friends who know the situation are completely on my side and say I have a right to protect my boundaries. I've tried to explain to Mia that my decision isn't about hating Jake or wanting to sabotage her happiness. It's about not endorsing behavior that I perceive as toxic and not feeling comfortable celebrating it. I've offered to help with the wedding planning in non-attendance ways, like helping with decor ideas or coordinating vendors, but she says that's not good enough. The wedding is in a few weeks, and the tension in the family is becoming unbearable. I feel heartbroken because I love my sister, and it's painful to watch her push me away. I keep questioning myself, wondering if I'm being too harsh or if I should just set aside my feelings to attend the wedding and keep the peace. I've tried to reason with everyone, but most of the family seems to think that refusing to attend is an overreaction. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé's behavior. I truly want what's best for Mia, but I also feel I need to maintain my boundaries and not pretend everything is okay when it clearly isn't. I don't know if I'm being selfish, dramatic, or genuinely standing up for what I believe is right. The whole situation is heartbreaking, and I feel like no matter what I do, someone will be upset. I'm prepared for a lot of backlash, but I need to know if my actions are reasonable given the circumstances. I love my sister more than anything, but I also can't ignore my instincts or my own sense of integrity. Have I gone too far? Or am I justified in making this difficult decision? AITA for refusing to host my family's holiday after years of them disregarding my boundaries? I, 32F, have always been the planner and the one everyone turns to for family gatherings. Growing up, my parents move a lot for work, so I learned to adapt, be hospitable, and try to make everyone feel comfortable. When I got my own place 5 years ago, I started hosting holiday dinners. Initially, it was manageable. My parents and younger brother, 29M, would come, my sister, 35F, occasionally, and a few cousins. Everyone was excited to gather, and I enjoyed it at first. Over time, I noticed a pattern. My family had no respect for boundaries, my space, or my preferences. For example, I am a vegetarian and don't eat meat for personal reasons. My mother always insists on bringing massive meat dishes for the dinner I'm hosting. I've asked her to either make them for herself or eat them elsewhere, but she says, it's just tradition. You'll eat it too. I try to avoid conflict, so I make a separate dish for myself, but it's frustrating that I have to go out of my way to accommodate something I didn't ask for. Another recurring issue is space. My apartment is not huge. It's 2 bedrooms, a modest living room, and a small kitchen. When my family comes over, they bring too many people, friends, or even distant relatives they met recently. One year, they showed up with 7 extra people, and I had to cram everyone in my tiny living room. My brother slept on the couch with his dog. My mother insisted her friend use my bed, and my sister took over my office as a sleeping space. I felt like I was running a hotel, not hosting family. Financially, it's also been draining. I am self-employed, and while I make a decent living, holidays are expensive. I spend hundreds of dollars on food, drinks, and sometimes gifts, and I never see any contribution from my family. When I ask politely for them to chip in for ingredients or supplies, I get passive-aggressive responses like, "We're family. You shouldn't make us pay," or "It's your responsibility as the host." Over time, I started feeling used and unappreciated. 2 years ago, I tried to set a boundary. I told my family that I loved hosting, but I needed advance notice about guests, contributions for food, and respect for my dietary choices and space. I explained that if these boundaries weren't respected, I wouldn't be able to host. Initially, my parents seemed understanding. They nodded, said they'd try to respect my wishes, and I felt hopeful. Unfortunately, nothing changed. Last Christmas, I had prepared for only my immediate family, based on the number they confirmed. My mother and sister showed up with an additional 6 people, including a neighbor I had never met. They brought 3 more dogs, which made my small apartment chaotic and stressful. My brother ate all the food I had prepared, leaving almost nothing for anyone else. My mother complained that my decorations were too simple and demanded I move my furniture to make room for the extra people. I tried to stay calm, but after a few hours, I finally said I couldn't continue hosting if this was going to happen. I asked everyone to leave, and they ended up spending the night at a nearby hotel instead. Since then, I've been dreading the holidays. My family kept calling, asking if I would host again this year. I said no, and I explained my reasons. My boundaries weren't respected. Hosting has become stressful rather than joyful, and I cannot financially or emotionally handle it anymore. My mother called me selfish and said I was breaking the family and turning a simple tradition into a personal issue. My sister accused me of being dramatic and said I should sacrifice for family. My brother stayed silent, but hinted that I was overreacting. I feel hurt because I've always tried to support my family, but they seem to think I exist to accommodate them. I offered solutions, like hosting smaller dinners, rotating hosts, or having everyone contribute food and money. None of these suggestions were acceptable to them. I'm exhausted, and honestly, I want to spend holidays peacefully, maybe with friends or just quietly at home. I know it may sound harsh to some, but I feel like I've already done too much to the point of resentment. I'm genuinely asking, AITA for refusing to host my family's holiday this year after years of them disregarding my boundaries? I just want my holidays back without stress, chaos, or guilt. I also want my family to understand that hosting is not an obligation. It's a privilege, and it shouldn't come at the cost of my well-being. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after what happened at my own. This is a long one, so bear with me. I, 32F, have always had a complicated relationship with my younger sister, Emily, 28F. Growing up, we were close in some ways, but also competitive. Our parents treated us differently, and Emily often got away with things I didn't, which caused tension that has carried into adulthood. Despite that, I always tried to support her milestones, graduations, job promotions, and so on. A few years ago, I got engaged to my now husband, Mark, 34M. Our engagement was a modest affair, but we were very excited and told our families right away. I always assumed Emily would be thrilled for me, but things got weird very quickly. Within a week of our engagement, she started making subtle comments about how Mark wasn't good enough for me, that he didn't earn enough money, and how she would never marry someone like him. I tried to brush it off, thinking she was just joking or jealous, but it was consistent and started to make me anxious. When we announced the wedding date, Emily began pressuring me to have it at a particular venue she liked, which I politely refused. She then suggested that her friends, many of whom I didn't know, should be in the wedding party. I explained that I wanted a small ceremony with only close friends and family, but she got visibly upset and said I was excluding her world. I tried to compromise, but nothing seemed to satisfy her. Fast forward to the wedding day. Emily arrived late, looking very upset. She refused to sit in the family section and instead sat with friends who weren't invited to the reception. During the ceremony, she made faces whenever Mark and I exchanged vows. At the reception, she openly complained that the music wasn't to her taste, the food was mediocre, and she would have done it differently if it were her wedding. At the end of the night, she pulled me aside and said that she hoped my marriage would fail because everyone knows Mark isn't your equal. My parents were mortified, and I was humiliated. I spent the next week avoiding her because I couldn't deal with the emotional toll of her behavior. Over time, I thought things would settle down. Emily reached out occasionally, but our conversations felt strained. Then, about a year ago, she got engaged to her partner, Tom, 30M. Initially, I wanted to be supportive, so I congratulated her and offered to help with planning. But Emily quickly reverted to her old behavior. She began dictating how I should participate in her wedding, down to what dress I should wear, and even what words I should say in a toast. When I politely declined her suggestions, she accused me of being disrespectful and selfish. A month ago, she sent out formal invitations to her wedding, which is scheduled for next summer. I looked at the details and realized she had requested that I perform certain duties during the ceremony, including a speech about her and Tom's perfect love story. I was shocked because I had nothing positive to say about her right now, given how she treated me at my own wedding. I texted her, explaining that I couldn't participate in a speech or help with the ceremony. I emphasized that I still loved her and wanted to celebrate with her in some way, but I could not perform those duties. Emily immediately responded angrily, accusing me of holding a grudge and saying that if I didn't comply, I wasn't family. She also told our parents that I was being dramatic and that the wedding was about her, not me. My parents tried to mediate, but Emily refused to back down. After a lot of thought, I told her that I could not attend her wedding at all because the idea of sitting through the ceremony while she treated me with disdain or forced me to pretend everything is perfect is too much for me emotionally. I also explained that I hoped she could understand that sometimes people need boundaries to protect their own mental health. The fallout has been huge. My parents are disappointed, saying that I am overreacting and that Emily will be hurt. Friends have been supportive, but some have questioned if I'm being petty or vindictive. Emily has been posting on social media about how disappointed she is in me, implying that I am ungrateful and selfish. I feel guilty because I know this will hurt her, but I also feel like she left me no choice. I can't relive the humiliation I experienced at my own wedding just because she wants to control everything at hers. My husband says I am justified and that setting boundaries is healthy. I have tried to reach out in the past to reconcile, but every attempt is met with more manipulation and emotional pressure. I want to have a relationship with my sister, but not at the cost of my own well-being. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because I don't want to be forced into participating in ways that make me uncomfortable and relive past trauma from how she treated me at my own wedding. AITA for confronting my sister about her parenting and risking our relationship. I never thought I'd find myself in the position of questioning my own family over something as personal as parenting, but here I am, wondering if I cross a line. For context, I'm 32, and my sister, Lily, is 30. We've always been close growing up, though there was the usual sibling rivalry. Recently, though, things have started to get tense, and I can't tell if I'm justified or just being judgmental. It all started about 6 months ago when Lily had her first child, a baby boy named Max. I was genuinely happy for her, and my parents were thrilled. At first, everything seemed normal. She was navigating the usual sleep deprivation, diaper changes, and feeding struggles. But over time, I began noticing patterns that worried me. It wasn't anything catastrophic, but the way she approached parenting fell off. Max is a lively, curious toddler now, and he's reaching developmental milestones, but I noticed she frequently ignored his cues, often leaving him cry for long periods or shouting at him over minor misbehavior. I've seen her leave him in his crib for hours while she played on her phone or binge-watched shows, only coming back when he was screaming. I started feeling uneasy about it, especially since my own partner and I had always planned to parent with patience and attention. I didn't immediately say anything because I figured everyone handles their first child differently, and I didn't want to come across as overbearing. But over the past few months, the behavior escalated. Lily would make jokes about Max, throwing tantrums just to annoy her, or complain that he was too needy and ruining her life. At family gatherings, she would leave Max in his car seat or playpen while we talked, even when he clearly wanted interaction. Once, she yelled at him to stop being a baby when he tripped and scraped his knee. My parents would gently intervene or try to help, but Lily would brush them off, saying she was toughening him up. It wasn't just one-off incidents. It became a consistent pattern. I finally reached a breaking point last month when we had a family dinner in my apartment. Max was playing in the living room while Lily sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. He kept trying to get her attention, bringing her toys and giggling, but she barely acknowledged him. Eventually, he got frustrated and threw a small toy, and she snapped, yelling at him in a tone I had never heard from her before. I intervened, telling her to calm down and that yelling like that wasn't okay. She got defensive immediately, insisting that I was overreacting and that I didn't understand parenting. My parents were awkwardly quiet, clearly unsure how to handle the confrontation. I left it there that night, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to talk to Lily privately the next day, gently explaining that Max was learning about emotions and boundaries, and that consistent yelling or ignoring him could have long-term effects. I also mentioned that he deserved positive attention and engagement from her, not just being treated as a problem to manage. I try to keep my tone supportive rather than accusatory, emphasizing that I only wanted what was best for Max. Her reaction shocked me. She started crying, saying I was attacking her as a mother and that she was already insecure and struggling. She said I had no right to judge her, that she didn't want parenting advice from me or anyone else. She accused me of thinking I was better than her and stormed out, leaving me feeling both guilty and frustrated. Our parents later told me that maybe I should have stayed out of it, but I felt like I couldn't watch a small child be treated in ways that felt neglectful without speaking up. Since then, our relationship has been strained. Lily barely talks to me, and when she does, it's tense and defensive. Family gatherings have become awkward because everyone is walking on eggshells. I genuinely don't want to damage my relationship with her, but I also don't want to ignore what I perceive as poor parenting practices, especially when Max is involved. I've considered giving her space and waiting until she comes to me, but I'm afraid that normalizing her behavior could affect Max long term. I've also thought about whether I might have overstepped. I don't live with her, and I only see Max occasionally, so perhaps I am not seeing the full picture of her day-to-day struggles. She has a stressful job and might be more exhausted than I realize. Maybe I came across as judgmental instead of supportive, even though my intention was to help. My partner says I was right to speak up, but they also caution that I need to balance honesty with tact. Family members are split. My parents think I meant well, but should have waited. Some friends say I was defending a child who doesn't have a voice yet. Others say it's none of my business and that I should focus on my own life. I just feel stuck between loyalty to my sister and concern for my nephew. I can't tell if I did the right thing or if I created unnecessary conflict. So, AITA for confronting my sister about her parenting even though it hurt our relationship? Or would remaining silent have been worse for Max? Character count, 6,472. Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she excluded me from major decisions. I, 32F, have always been close to my younger sister, Emily, 28F. We grew up in a very small town and were inseparable for most of our lives. I was there for every milestone, every heartbreak, and I have always been someone she leaned on for advice. That said, our personalities are very different. I am more cautious, organized, and meticulous, while she tends to be spontaneous, creative, and occasionally impulsive. Despite our differences, I always thought we balanced each other out, until recently. Emily got engaged about a year ago, and, from the start, things felt off to me. She announced the engagement with excitement, but immediately began planning everything herself. I offered to help in any way she wanted, even volunteering to coordinate small aspects or help with decorations. She thanked me, but quickly made it clear that she already had her vision and didn't need input. I try not to take it personally, thinking that maybe she just wanted to have a hands-on approach to her wedding. As the planning progressed, I realized that she was excluding me from almost everything. Invitations, venue visits, catering discussions, and even dress fittings were all conducted without my involvement. I thought maybe she wanted a small bridal party and didn't feel like I was the right fit, but she did include me as a bridesmaid. However, being a bridesmaid didn't mean anything because she made every decision without consulting me. The breaking point came when she asked me to help with the guest list. At first, I thought this would be a way to contribute meaningfully. However, when I suggested inviting a few family friends and coworkers who were important to both of us, she flat out told me that the list was already finalized and that she didn't want anyone I suggested. I was hurt, and I said something along the lines of, "If you already decided everything, why involve me at all?" She got visibly upset and told me I was being selfish and controlling for trying to influence her decisions. Around this time, my parents also got involved. They're very close to Emily and have a tendency to take her side in arguments. They told me that I should be more understanding and that Emily has a right to make her wedding exactly how she wants it. I agreed, to some extent, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was intentionally excluding me. I started to notice that my suggestions were met with passive-aggressive responses or outright dismissal, while the suggestions of other bridesmaids were welcomed. I mentioned this to her once, hoping to open a dialogue, but she accused me of overreacting and said I was trying to ruin the wedding mood. The final straw came a few weeks ago when Emily asked me to help with crafting wedding favors. I was excited and agreed immediately. When I arrived at her house, I found that she had already made all the decisions about materials, design, and the number of items to produce. She handed me a box of supplies and told me to just put them together without making any creative input. I tried to express that I wanted to help with the design process too, not just assembly, but she snapped and said that if I wasn't going to follow her instructions, I shouldn't be there at all. I left, feeling frustrated and unappreciated. Since then, Emily has sent me multiple messages asking for help with different tasks, from addressing invitations to setting up decorations on the wedding day. I have refused each time, explaining that I feel excluded from decisions and that helping in a capacity where my input is ignored feels disrespectful. She reacted very negatively, accusing me of being unsupportive, selfish, and dramatic. She told our parents that I am refusing to help because I want to have control over everything, which is completely false. I honestly just feel like she doesn't value my contributions and doesn't want me involved. Now, our relationship is strained. My parents keep calling me to apologize to her and to do the right thing, but I feel that any involvement would only make me resentful and cause more tension. Emily has started speaking to me coldly, and I feel guilty because I do love her and want her wedding to be beautiful, but I also feel like I need to protect myself from being hurt. I don't want to attend the wedding simply to avoid making her upset, but I also don't want to be accused of ruining her special day. I've tried to compromise by offering to help in ways where I am not ignored, like organizing a small pre-wedding brunch or helping her pack for the honeymoon, but she rejected those offers as well. I feel stuck between being a supportive sister and not being treated with respect. So, AITA for refusing to help my sister with her wedding after she excluded me from meaningful involvement, even though she keeps asking for my help and telling everyone I am being unsupportive. I genuinely want her to be happy, but I also want my feelings and contributions to matter. AITA for refusing to help my sister move after she excluded me from the initial planning. So I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emma, 28F. Our relationship has always been kind of complicated. Growing up, we were close, but in our adult lives, we have different ways of communicating and handling things, which has led to tension over the years. I've always tried to be supportive, but Emma tends to make decisions unilaterally and expects me to just go along with them. I'll admit I'm sensitive to feeling excluded or overlooked, so I try to set boundaries, but they often get tested by her. A few weeks ago, Emma called me out of the blue, sounding really excited. She told me that she and her partner, Mark, 30M, had finally found their dream house. She described it as perfect, spacious, with a great backyard for their dog, and conveniently located near their work. Naturally, I was thrilled for her and congratulated her, asking for all the details. She mentioned that the closing was happening in just a month, and then immediately asked me if I could help them move. I was caught off guard because I hadn't heard anything about this house before the call. I asked her when she had started looking, and she said she had been searching for a couple of months, but hadn't told me because she didn't want me to worry about her making decisions. That rubbed me the wrong way. It felt like a mix of secrecy and lack of trust. I asked if she had considered the logistics, like whether she'd need professional movers or whether friends could help. She laughed and said, "Oh, don't worry, I was hoping you'd help. You're strong and organized, perfect for packing and moving heavy stuff." I hesitated because I already have a busy work schedule and a lot of personal commitments, but I said I'd see if I could manage a weekend to help. Then she sent me a list of what she expected. She wanted me to come for the entire weekend before the move, help pack boxes, lift heavy furniture, clean the old place, drive a U-Haul with her while she and Mark followed in their car, and basically act as a moving coordinator. She also mentioned that she had invited the usual crew of friends, but didn't bother asking if I would be available to do certain things. She had already made plans without consulting me at all. At this point, I was upset. I told her I couldn't commit to the whole weekend because I had prior obligations, including a work project that was in a critical stage in my own apartment that needed attention. I suggested maybe helping a few hours on moving day, but she got really defensive. She said I was being unsupportive, accused me of always making everything about your schedule, and told me that if I really cared about family, I would make the time. She said she would have done the same for me. I explained that it wasn't about not caring, but about having limits and feeling disrespected because she hadn't included me in the planning process. I felt like she assumed I'd be available without even asking. That led to a huge argument over text. She called me selfish, and I responded that her excitement didn't give her the right to dictate my availability or guilt-trip me. Things escalated when I suggested hiring movers for at least the heavy furniture. She immediately shot back that she didn't want to spend money on that, and that having me help was part of what made it a family affair. I countered that helping shouldn't come at the cost of burning out, and that family support isn't measured by who lifts the heaviest boxes. She ended the conversation abruptly and hasn't spoken to me since. Our parents are aware of some of this, and they're upset with me because they think I'm overreacting. They've said things like, "Emma just wants help. Why make it into a fight?" And "You should step up. She's your sister." My friends are split. Some say I'm justified in setting boundaries. Others say I could have been more flexible to support my sister in a stressful time. I genuinely feel conflicted. On one hand, I want to support her, but on the other hand, I feel manipulated and unappreciated. I've been thinking a lot about family dynamics, respect, and boundaries. I keep wondering, am I really being selfish for refusing to help her move the way she wants? Or is this a matter of healthy boundaries that she simply isn't respecting? I don't want to damage our relationship permanently, but I also don't want to be resentful and overextended. I've offered alternatives, like helping a few hours on moving day or helping coordinate professional movers, but she hasn't responded. I don't know if I'm making too big of a deal out of this, or if I'm justified in feeling upset about being excluded and assumed upon. It's been almost a week since our last communication, and the silence feels heavy. I'm worried that even if I help in some way, the underlying tension and lack of communication will remain. I also feel that if I give in, it will set a precedent that she can continue to assume my time and labor without discussion or consent. At the same time, I don't want to be remembered as the unsupportive sister in our family, which is a label I fear sticking even if my reasons are legitimate. So, AITA for refusing to commit to helping my sister move after she excluded me from the initial planning and assumed I would just be available to do everything she wanted. AITA for refusing to host my brother's wedding rehearsal dinner after he insulted my partner. I, 32F, have always been close to my family, particularly my younger brother, Dan, 29M. We grew up in a pretty tight-knit household, and despite our differences, we always supported each other. A big part of that has always been our extended family gatherings, holidays, and celebrations. My comment was inappropriate. Since then, Dan has been sending passive-aggressive messages like, "I guess we'll just have to settle for a restaurant," and "Too bad you couldn't handle a simple request." Alex has been supportive, saying I did the right thing by standing up for him, but I feel guilty because I don't want this to escalate into a bigger family conflict, especially so close to the wedding. I also feel like I'm caught between supporting my partner and being a good sister. I know some might say I overreacted, but I genuinely feel that hosting an event in my home for people who insulted my partner is not something I can do. I try to find a compromise by helping them with alternatives, but they insist it's my fault the dinner is now more complicated. So, AITA for refusing to host my brother's wedding rehearsal dinner after he insulted my partner, even though it has caused tension in my family. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding after what happened at my own. I've always been the kind of person who puts family first. I grew up in a household where appearances mattered more than feelings, and my sister, Emily, was the golden child. She was charismatic, beautiful, and everyone loved her instantly. I was quieter, more reserved, and people often overlooked me. Our parents were strict, and they always made sure to celebrate Emily's achievements while mine were subtly minimized. Over time, I learned to stay in the background, to keep my victories small, and to smile when the spotlight was on her. 2 years ago, I got engaged to my partner, Sam. Sam is kind, patient, and funny. Everything I could have hoped for. We've been dating for 4 years, and when he proposed, I was over the moon. I immediately called my family to share the news. That's when the first hint of trouble appeared. My mom's reaction was lukewarm at best, while my dad gave me a polite smile and a nod. Emily, on the other hand, seemed almost irritated. She said congratulations, but then quickly shifted the conversation to her own upcoming trip abroad, as if my engagement didn't matter. It stung, but I brushed it off, telling myself that she was just excited about her own plans. As the wedding planning began, things only got more complicated. I wanted a small, intimate wedding with close family and friends, nothing extravagant. But Emily, my sister, who had just moved into a high-paying job, kept insisting on being involved in every detail, from the color of the napkins to the music playlist. She would often drop comments like, "You should really have a bigger guest list. People will talk if it's too small." Or, "I just think your bouquet needs more flowers. Don't you want it to be perfect?" I started noticing a pattern. She wasn't giving advice out of care. She was undermining me, testing how much control she could exert. The tipping point came with the rehearsal dinner. Emily decided she wanted to host it at a trendy restaurant she'd discovered. I politely reminded her that we'd already booked the dinner at a place Sam and I had chosen, something meaningful to us. Emily laughed and said, "Oh, come on, it's just one night. You don't want people thinking your wedding is boring." I tried to argue calmly, but she rolled her eyes and insisted, saying she knew what was best for me. My mom nodded at her, and my dad didn't intervene. I ended up feeling small and humiliated, but I didn't want to start a family feud right before my wedding. I caved, partly out of fear and partly because I wanted some peace. On the day of the wedding, the pattern continued. Emily made a big show of arriving early, talking to guests, and subtly taking credit for organizing small things, even when she hadn't done anything. During my vows, she loudly whispered to someone nearby, "I wish she had picked a better dress, but oh well," as if trying to make me self-conscious. My heart sank, but I tried to ignore it. Sam noticed my discomfort and squeezed my hand during the ceremony, whispering, "We're doing this for us." That kept me grounded. After the reception, while everyone was mingling, Emily cornered me and said, "Honestly, the wedding could have been so much better if you'd let me handle it." I was stunned. Not a congratulations, not a kind word, just criticism. I finally snapped. I told her that this was my wedding, not hers, and that if she couldn't support me without making it about herself, maybe she shouldn't be involved at all. She stormed off, crying and claiming I had ruined her reputation in front of our family. My parents were upset with me for being harsh and not appreciating Emily's help, and it felt like the whole day ended on a sour note, despite how beautiful it had been. Fast forward to last month, Emily got engaged. Her fiancé is nice, though I don't know him well yet. They set the wedding date for a month from now and immediately started asking me to attend. My first instinct was to decline quietly, but my parents pressured me, saying, "It's your sister. You can't not go. Think of the family." I explained, honestly, that I still felt hurt by how she treated me during my wedding and that I wasn't comfortable celebrating with her right now. Emily heard about this from Mom and called me, asking why I wouldn't support her special day. I tried to explain calmly, but she interrupted me, saying, "You're being dramatic. I'm your sister, and you're supposed to be happy for me." I reminded her of all the ways she had undermined my wedding, and she replied with, "That was a long time ago. Can't you just get over it? I've spent weeks thinking about this. On one hand, I don't want to burn bridges or create more family tension. On the other, I feel like attending her wedding would betray my own boundaries and feelings. I've suggested attending only the ceremony and skipping the reception, but my parents said that would be rude and would look bad in front of the family and friends. I just don't know what the right thing to do is. I feel guilty for even considering not going, but I also feel like I'm not being unreasonable for wanting to protect myself from past emotional harm. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of the way she treated me in my own. AITA for refusing to help my brother with his wedding after years of family tension. I, 32F, come from a family that has always had tension under the surface, but my younger brother, Alex, 29M, seems to think we could just sweep everything under the rug for big events like weddings. Our family history is complicated, so I'll try to break it down clearly. Growing up, my parents were very strict and controlling, and there was a lot of favoritism toward Alex. I was expected to be the responsible one, keep my grades up, and essentially smooth over family issues, while Alex could do almost anything without serious consequences. This dynamic has caused a lot of resentment on my part, but I've tried to maintain a civil relationship with him. I genuinely wanted a sibling connection, but it has always been lopsided. A few years ago, things reached a boiling point. Alex made some very poor financial decisions, borrowed large sums of money from family, and refused to pay it back. He also manipulated situations to make himself look like the victim when things went wrong. I tried to support him in small ways, but after repeated disappointments, I stopped lending him money or helping him with his personal problems. He's a very charismatic person, so everyone else in the family still seemed to side with him or dismiss his actions, but I decided I needed boundaries. Fast forward to now. Alex got engaged to his fiancée, Laura, 27F, about a year ago. Almost immediately, he started dropping hints that I needed to be more involved in the wedding planning. This included helping him with financially heavy tasks, like contributing to the deposit on the venue, helping pay for some of the catering, and even organizing parts of the guest list. He framed all of this as me being the responsible older sister who should step in for the family's sake. I told him that I was not comfortable contributing financially because I have my own expenses, student loans, rent, and saving for a house. He argued that my involvement is family duty and suggested that if I really cared about him, I would contribute. I reminded him that our parents are perfectly capable of funding their own child's wedding, but he said I was being cold and selfish. Then things escalated. He invited me to what he called a preliminary planning meeting and presented me with a binder of tasks, many of which were clearly meant for someone to take full responsibility for. For instance, he had a list of DIY decorations, seating charts, and negotiating contracts with vendors. It was implied that I should handle these tasks because I was detail-oriented and good with money. I said I couldn't do all of that because I work full-time and also have commitments outside the family. He got visibly frustrated and started comparing me to our other relatives, saying they were more helpful and considerate. The final straw was when he sent a group message to several family members and friends, casually implying that I was refusing to help my own brother on his special day. The message made it sound like I was deliberately sabotaging the wedding. A few relatives reached out to me privately, saying I should just help to keep the peace. I felt cornered, but also incredibly frustrated because this was not just about helping out. It was about years of emotional labor that I had already carried and now being asked to cover for someone who has consistently relied on others while refusing to take responsibility himself. I decided to respond honestly. I told him that I would not be involved in planning or funding the wedding beyond attending as a guest, that he could expect support in the form of love and attendance, but not financial or logistical assistance. I try to be polite and explain my reasons, emphasizing the history of how I've always been the one expected to step up for him. He reacted angrily, claiming I was destroying family relationships and letting everyone down. Since then, the family dynamic has been tense. Some relatives support my decision, saying it's about time I set boundaries, while others accuse me of being selfish and overreacting. My parents have been mostly quiet, but I know they're disappointed because they always expected me to be the mediator and peacekeeper. Alex has hinted that I am uninvited to parts of the wedding, though he hasn't explicitly said I can't come. I honestly don't want to participate in any planning or pre-wedding events, but I do want to attend the wedding itself if invited, because I don't want to completely sever ties. I'm left wondering if I'm actually the bad guy here. From my perspective, I'm simply refusing to take on responsibilities that I've never agreed to and that have historically been taken for granted. But from my family's perspective, it might seem like I'm being unsupportive during what's supposed to be a joyful time. The tension has gotten so bad that even casual family conversations are awkward, and I dread any mention of the wedding. So, Reddit AITA for refusing to help my brother with his wedding after years of feeling used and unappreciated, even though it has caused tension with the rest of the family. AITA for refusing to cancel my vacation after my sister suddenly decided to plan her wedding that same week. I, 29F, have been planning a big vacation for almost a year. I work a stressful job as a nurse, and I rarely take time off longer than a few days. Last summer, I finally decided I needed a real break. So, I saved money and planned a 2-week trip to Japan with my best friend. We booked flights, hotels, tours, everything months in advance. It's not refundable, and it costs a lot of money, but I was excited because I've never traveled that far before. My family knew about this trip the entire time. I talked about it constantly at dinners and in our family group chat. My mom even joked that she expected souvenirs from every city. My older sister Claire, 32F, has been engaged for about 2 years. She and her fiancé kept putting off wedding planning because they couldn't agree on venues and wanted to save money. No one in the family pressured them because we figured they would do it when they were ready. About a month ago, Claire suddenly announced that they had found a venue they loved. The catch was that the venue only had one date available this year because it's apparently very popular. That date happened to fall right in the middle of my trip. When she first told everyone, I honestly thought she was joking. I reminded her that I would be in another country. She said she knew but hoped I could move my trip because the venue was perfect and she didn't want to wait another year to get married. I explained that I couldn't move it. The flights alone were extremely expensive and non-refundable. The hotels and tour bookings would also be lost. On top of that, my friend planned her work schedule around these dates too. Claire got quiet but didn't say much at the time. I thought maybe she understood. A few days later, she called me and asked again if I could change my trip. She said that having her sister missing from the wedding would be heartbreaking and embarrassing in front of our relatives. She also said I was supposed to be one of her bridesmaids. The problem is she never actually asked me to be a bridesmaid before that conversation. She just assumed I would be. I told her I was sorry, but I couldn't justify losing thousands of dollars and ruining a trip that had been planned for nearly a year. I also reminded her that she had known about the dates for months. She said that a wedding is more important than a vacation and that family should come first. I told her that planning a wedding during dates she knew I was unavailable didn't feel very family first either. After that conversation, things got tense. My mom started calling me, saying I should reconsider because weddings only happen once and vacations can happen anytime. I pointed out that I had already paid for this vacation and taken time off work that was very hard to get approved. My dad was more neutral, but still said he wished I would try harder to make it work. Claire then sent a message in the family group chat saying she was heartbroken that I was choosing a vacation over her wedding. Several relatives chimed in saying I should support my sister. What really annoyed me is that Claire had other options. The venue offered multiple dates next year, but she said she didn't want to wait that long because they had already been engaged for 2 years. Last weekend, we had a family dinner that turned into a huge argument. Claire accused me of not caring about her big day. I said it felt unfair that everyone expected me to lose thousands of dollars because she waited until the last minute to pick a date. She said that if I really loved her, I would cancel the trip. I responded that if she really wanted me at the wedding, she would choose a date when I wasn't literally on the other side of the planet. Now my mom is barely speaking to me and keeps sending me messages about how families should make sacrifices for each other. Claire has told several relatives that I'm selfish and care more about sightseeing than about her marriage. My best friend says, I'm being completely reasonable because the trip was planned first, and it's not like I'm skipping the wedding for no reason. But hearing my family talk about it makes me feel like some kind of terrible sister. Part of me wonders if I should just take the financial loss to keep the peace, but another part of me feels like that would be letting everyone walk over me. So now I'm stuck feeling guilty every time the topic comes up. AITA for refusing to cancel my long-planned international vacation just to attend my sister's last-minute wedding date. AITA for refusing to give my sister the family engagement ring after she announced her engagement at my birthday dinner. I, 29F, recently got engaged to my partner Daniel, 31M. We've been together for 5 years, and he proposed in January with a ring he picked himself. It's not a family heirloom or anything. Just a ring he saved up for and chose because he knew I loved emeralds. The thing is, my family does technically have a ring that gets passed down. It belonged to my grandmother. After she passed away, my mom kept it in a little jewelry box and always said it would go to the next person who gets engaged. For years, everyone just assumed that would be my younger sister Claire, 26F, because she's always been the one who talked about marriage and weddings nonstop. But life doesn't always follow expectations. I ended up getting engaged first. After Daniel proposed, my mom gave me the ring box and said, "Your grandmother would have wanted you to have it." I was honestly shocked. The ring is beautiful, but also very old-fashioned. I thanked her and told her I'd treasure it. But since I already had my engagement ring, I decided I'd probably wear my grandmother's ring on special occasions instead. Claire seemed fine at first. She congratulated me and even helped me plan some early wedding ideas. Everything seemed normal. Then last month, during my birthday dinner, Claire suddenly stood up and announced that her boyfriend Mark had proposed that afternoon. Everyone cheered, and it turned into this whole second celebration. I was happy for her. It was a little strange timing, but whatever. Then Claire looked directly at me and said, "So I guess I'll finally get Grandma's ring now." The table went quiet. I thought she was joking and laughed awkwardly, but she was dead serious. My mom looked confused and said that the ring had already been given to me. Claire immediately got upset and said that it obviously should go to her because she would actually use it as an engagement ring. She said that since I already had a ring from Daniel, I didn't really need Grandma's ring and that it was selfish for me to keep it locked in a jewelry box while she could actually wear it every day. I tried to stay calm and told her it wasn't about need. Mom had given it to me, and it meant a lot to me because it was from Grandma. I also said I wasn't comfortable just handing it over after it had already been given to me. Claire got really emotional and said everyone in the family knew she had always dreamed of that ring. She claimed I was taking it out of spite because I got engaged first. That honestly made me angry because I had never thought of it that way. My dad tried to calm things down, but Claire kept pushing. She even said that if I really cared about family, I would let the ring go to the person who would actually honor the tradition. At that point, I told her that the tradition was simply giving the ring to the next engaged person, which happened to be me. I also pointed out that she had just gotten engaged that same day, and we hadn't even had time to think about anything yet. Claire ended up leaving the restaurant early with Mark. Since then, things have gotten messy. Claire has been telling relatives that I stole her ring. A couple of my aunts have called me suggesting that I should just give it to her to keep the peace because I already have my own ring anyway. My mom says she understands why I want to keep it, but she also hates seeing Claire so upset and hinted that maybe letting Claire have it would solve the problem. What bothers me is that the ring was given to me as a gift. It's one of the few things I have that belonged to my grandmother. Giving it away now feels like erasing that moment when my mom trusted me with it. At the same time, I do understand that Claire had built this whole expectation in her head for years. Daniel says the situation is ridiculous and that no one should pressure me to give up something that was given to me. But family pressure is starting to get to me, and now I'm second-guessing myself. So AITA for refusing to give my sister the family engagement ring, even though I already have another ring and she wants to use it for her engagement? AITA for refusing to let my sister bring her emotional support boyfriend to my wedding after everything he's done? 29F. I am getting married in 2 months to my fiancé, Mark, 31M. We've been together for 6 years and planning this wedding for almost a year. For context, my family is very close, sometimes to the point where boundaries basically don't exist. My younger sister, Lily, 26F, has always been the dramatic one in the family. Growing up, she was the type who could turn a minor inconvenience into a full emotional crisis. My parents usually catered to it because they thought she was sensitive. About 2 years ago, Lily started dating a guy named Ryan, 28M. At first, I tried to be welcoming because she seemed really happy. But very quickly, Ryan started causing problems in subtle ways that were hard to call out without sounding petty. The first issue happened at my engagement dinner. It was a small gathering at a nice restaurant with both families. Ryan kept interrupting conversations to make weird, sarcastic comments about marriage being a legal trap. At one point, he loudly asked Mark if he had a prenup, just in case she goes crazy. Everyone laughed awkwardly, but Mark was clearly uncomfortable. After dinner, Lily told me Ryan was just joking and that I should lighten up. Then at Thanksgiving, he brought up politics at the table, even though my parents specifically asked everyone not to. He kept pushing my dad into an argument until my dad finally got frustrated and left the room. Ryan laughed and said he loved stirring the pot. The final straw for me happened last summer at my birthday party. Mark had organized a small backyard celebration with friends and family. Ryan got drunk pretty quickly and started telling a story about how Lily used to cry whenever I got better grades than her in school. Lily was embarrassed and asked him to stop, but he kept going. Then he said something like, "Honestly, I'm surprised you're the one getting married first. Lily's usually the more interesting sister." It was incredibly awkward. Mark ended up asking him to chill out, and Ryan got defensive and accused Mark of not being able to handle jokes. The night basically ended early because everyone was uncomfortable. After that, I told Lily privately that I didn't feel comfortable around Ryan and that I wanted some distance. She got upset and said I was judging him unfairly. Fast forward to wedding planning. Mark and I decided we wanted a relatively small wedding with about 70 guests. Because of the limited space, we were careful about plus ones. Long-term partners were invited, but we weren't extending open invitations to everyone's casual dates. When I sent Lily her invitation, I addressed it only to her. She immediately called me asking why Ryan wasn't included. I told her honestly that after everything that happened, I wasn't comfortable having him at the wedding. I explained that I wanted the day to be peaceful and drama-free. She started crying and said Ryan is her emotional support person and that she can't handle big family events without him. I pointed out that she has attended plenty of family gatherings without him in the past. She said that was different and that I was punishing her for loving someone. Things escalated when she told our parents. My mom called me saying that excluding Ryan would permanently damage my relationship with Lily. My dad said he didn't like Ryan much either, but that weddings are about family unity. Then Lily sent me a long message saying that if Ryan isn't invited, she won't come to the wedding at all because she refuses to be somewhere her partner is unwelcome. I told her that while I would love for her to be there, the decision about the guest list is final. I also said that based on Ryan's previous behavior, I don't trust him not to create another uncomfortable situation on a day that's supposed to be one of the happiest of my life. Now my phone keeps blowing up with relatives telling me I should just let Ryan come for the sake of peace. A few people even said I'm being controlling and that it's normal for guests to bring their partners. Mark supports my decision, but also admitted he worries this will turn into a long-term family conflict. The thing that makes me doubt myself is that Lily truly seems devastated. She keeps saying I'm choosing my dislike of Ryan over my relationship with her. My mom keeps reminding me that a wedding only lasts one day, but family lasts forever. At the same time, every time I imagine Ryan making sarcastic comments during the ceremony or getting drunk at the reception, I feel my stomach drop. So now I'm stuck wondering if I'm being reasonable for wanting a drama-free wedding or if I'm actually the one causing unnecessary family conflict. AITA, thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.